Boom. There we are. Live streaming again. It's been a little while for me. How long has it been? More than a week. Normally I do 2-3 streams a week. Try to get at least 2 done. One on the Sunday, as that's my usual streaming day. And the others obviously during the week whenever I have time. But last weekend I went back to my grandparents for my granddad's birthday. Had a lot of fun. Partied. Partied quite a lot actually. But today what I want to do is I want to work on some wavetables. And what I'm looking to do is kind of create some utility wavetables. So I'll run through what I've been. Well, here is, for example, a wavetable that I made. This is for creating baselines. So I want to make a few of these. They're just for like creating your baseline. Hello, Cider. How are you doing? So I want to make a few of these. I want to make maybe a few different modulators, like these ones here. These are like modulators for Designer FM. This can be used for sound designing if you use wavetable set FM from A. Then you use tones. Stuff that you can do. That's what I want to play with. I have an audio routing problem. Can you please help me? Explain. Sure, I can try. There's people in the house. My roommate has friends over, so we might pick that up. I'll play around a little bit, and either you can explain your problem so I can try to help. Always comes out even. What do you mean with comes out? Audio input. You can hear it. You have direct monitoring on your interface, maybe. I have a button on my interface which is direct monitoring, which is meant for people who record like singing and their voice and stuff, so that they can easily. Yeah, so it's the idea of direct routing is that the inputs 1 and 2 are routed directly to your output, so that when you're recording vocals, you immediately have like the feedback of how you're singing or how you're playing when you're like playing guitar or whatever. There should be a button for direct monitoring. Yeah, direct monitor. An idea how to change this? Yeah, to me it's just like a physical button on the interface itself. Maybe for you it depends on what interface you have, but it might be that you need to go into like your settings. But usually it's a very common thing that people use. It's like a physical button, either on the front. I have it on the front, maybe back for you. What interface do you have? You might be able to check this line if I can find like an image front and or from the back. Okay, quickly going to reset this. What I want to do first, I think, solve phasing, so I can get my M freeform phase as a waveform. down. Actually do a little 180. I don't think I can set the point precisely, but it doesn't matter how exact it is. It's always nice to have it round numbers, but it doesn't matter. I want around 3000%. Consolidated. Charlotte 18i. Usually direct monitoring is just hardwired to channels 1 and 2. There's no per... It's not a setting per channel. Maybe it is. Oh, it's going to bring me to the web. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's the talkback. To be honest, I don't... have the Gen 2. Okay. Does not have the talkback. I don't think it... If it exists, it's going to be on the front. Doesn't show... I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. What could be the case, in your Windows you have something like this, which is, for me, is Forge Me to Banana, which is like internal routing. So this is like an audio interface within Windows, right? Because my audio interface just has one input and one output, because that's all I need. So for me, I do all of my routing in here. So you can see my microphone is channel 1, DAW audio is... Or this is like Zoom audio and Discord audio. This here is my DAW. I think this one is Reaper. And all of that stuff I kind of can then downmix into whatever output channel I want. I have these 5 output channels. Maybe you have a setup like this, where you have routed some inputs directly to your speaker output. Like my speaker output is this one, and you should check off and on whatever routing you have like internally. If it's not that, then I don't know. Thanks for the help. Thank you. Glad you appreciate it. I hope that you find out what the actual problem is. Oh, it actually shows now. Nice. $16. Very nice. I recorded again then. Okay, this should be a better recording. What I would also like to do, I do that. Get rid of like the wobble. Hello, Wineby. How are you doing? So this wobble, really you don't want that in your sidetrans baseline. So for low phase, right, you get this one spike below, then it goes one spike up, and then it kind of centralizes once you add more and more phasing to it. So I want to get rid of these spikes, potentially. There's a way to do that. Because it is like a DC offset. I don't know how to counteract that. Let's first see what happens if we just wavetable making. I'm going to import this as the algorithm that I want. Just cutting it up. Parts. I think. That's not really it, because it changes the phasing of it. I'm a little bit late. Welcome. I've been streaming for 12 minutes. So you're not really that late. This one also 10. Okay, so this one seems to import better in terms of the phasing that it applies, right? That's the kind of phasing we want. We just need to add one. Oh, 1. Then I can import. Now it should. One and one. Why? Does the phase actually change? Just move like the lower fundamentals. Let's see if importing it into faceplant makes it better. Oh, this is still patch. Want is. And towards the end it becomes a little bit messy, so we'll here. And for the start, really we don't read. Now it's like a phasing stall wave, right? Then I'm gonna go phase offset, and I want the snap to be right in the middle, where I like to have my snaps. So I like that you cannot do it with the arrows. Minus 33. But actually moves forward. That we need to 0 here, and then at the now it's behind, now it's in front. They're way too. I think I need to select just this one and go. Yeah, that looks pretty clean to me. I'm happy with that. I'll save. And I can go into form face. Okay, so this just allows me to open up my back here potentially, making bases. I want to test this, if what I did actually makes sense. Hey, I found it. Interface software, thank you. Oh, nice, nice. That's good to hear. I'll check. Oh, what I can do, normalize each frame. That's done in Serum. Here, process, normalize each separately. This means that it should. Nice. Obviously, this is going to be too much, but you can set whatever processing that you want. High, almost. I would suggest if you use a wavetable like this, probably about here where you want to stop. You don't want it to be maybe around here. This is where it kind of looks cleaner. Oh, with the new profile picture. Yeah, it looks nice. Looks very good. Okay, so from this, I want to know what it sounds like. There, here, here. Yeah, you can set the amount of processing that you want directly in the wave. I guess it's pretty cool. normalized. I could just use this wavetable now for all of my bass creation. Just keep kind of idea that I do with form phase wavetable, and I just set the position however I want. What I think is best for your bass lines is probably to have the click start at a zero crossing like this. Don't know, like if there's a big difference. Not really getting a click. There it is. It's sounding a bit like this. You get a kick and test it out. Samples. Darker, normally I go like have a listen. Getting a bit too much high end, I think. But something like this, yeah, this would be, so this is just all done within the patch. The cool thing about doing it like this is that you don't have to deal with the post stringing, and you could potentially just keep it in MIDI, which means that if you want to do like melodies like this, something like that, then you don't have to resample your bass line again. Because normally what I do is I make my bass line, lay out kind of the normal note that I want to use, the root note that I want to use, and then for every time that I want to use a different note, I have to recall like the bass line. Hi, hey, how are you doing? Nice to see you here as well. Some new people. I mean, Sai has been in my Discord. Nice to see him up in my stream. I guess this is a cool trick for the bass line. You can make some darker basses from it. Very light ones. Sharp is nice. Fan of C sharp. I think Eclipse did something in C sharp a little. I'm not a fan of it. I'm much more fan. I usually stay between F sharp and A sharp. It's kind of like my range from here. I want something a bit darker for my liking, and then the highest one is like A sharp. Scorpion brain farts, your projector. Thank you, man. Nice username. Very creative. I guess with a bit of a stronger kick from the back, makes more sense to be around sharp. Obviously, there's some cleaning up to do. Let's actually have a look at it. It does look like the waveform is different from what I'm getting. Let's try to isolate like one cycle. No, it's the same. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do. That's great. It's made my baseline creation even faster then, because I can just save this patch. I set up a macro. I can set up the macro even in the range that I like. Very little processing. This would be like the minimum. This would be like my maximum. Flipping now because of the not mixed properly. Played around with microfreak Arturia. No, I have not. I don't have any hardware synths or anything like that. I'd like to. But the first thing that I would like to buy if I do like some actual hardware investments is I think some real world instruments. Because I'm much more into adding real world instruments and vocals and that kind of stuff into my sidetracks than more synths. Like a virus is the most popular choice, like Utopian Brain Fart says. But to me, I would much rather buy something like a handpan or the what's the other thing, the finger piano. Those things are a little bit more, I don't know, different. Everybody buys a virus. Not everybody buys a handpan. Or the bigger ones. The handpan is, I think, is the smaller one. Right? It's like this big in size. It's like the size of my head, almost. Right? That. I never understand why they don't have a MIDI control theorem, for example, or for another else. Well, there's the, if you want something like that, there's the whole thing that Native Instruments does. But then you're looking at spending a lot of money for something that's only Native Instrument. Am I cutting out again? It's looking fine on my end. Healthy. Very strange. Here the last minute. Maybe it's because I changed my mic in. Sorry, I need to set up filter. My gate. I need to lower my gate a little. My input gain. Is my microphone low in volume as well? Or is that good? I think now I shouldn't be cutting out as much. I should also be able to give it a little bit more gain then. Because I had to set the input gain of my microphone lower. Way better. Okay, cool. Then it's all set. That's nice. Okay, so this concept works. More wavetables. I do want to make a bunch of different, like normal wavetables, but maybe a few extra saw wavetables is nice. What I want to try is doing like a shift here. So then this would be like 50%, I think. 50. Okay. And then this goes 0 again. Actually, no, you have to do it with 4, I think, because I want to do like a spectral shift. So 75, 50, which it's not letting me get to. 50, and then here 25. If I now go and do a spectral morph, it should just look like a morphing like saw wave. This is useful because it theoretically should give you like less headroom in some cases. Maybe this is useful, maybe not. I mean, it's just going to sound like a saw wave. Either way. Is there any plugin / hardware that's better than Serum? To be honest, define better. Because I like Serum. It's the fastest for me. But there are sounds in here that I cannot make that you can make in Faceplant, for example. Because you need certain kinds of oscillator setups or whatever. Actually, know what I want to make? I want to make the shift. Let's do that with the transient designer MB. Do I not have that in the menu? I should have it here, right? Yeah, transient designer MB. Okay, we do 1 band. No, 2 bands. And we want a crossover of... I guess I could sample a few different crossovers. We'll go from like 5K. Can I set that here? No. I want to set precise values. Like this. Holding control allows me to set precise values. Okay, we'll go from like 5,000 all the way down. Let's see if we record this, if it gives us a nice one. Or is this too simple? Maybe it's a bit too simple, but maybe if we just sample like the second half, that could be nice. How come you prefer M-Transient MB over OTT? What I want to do here is I just want the phasing of this single band here. I'm actually going to go 48 dB, I think. I don't care about any of the processing. Obviously, there's no transient in this waveform. So I'm not caring about the transient processing. M-Transient MB, out of all of the Melda plugins, is the one that does the least amount of like samples and the least amount of CPU like overhead or consumption, I should say. So that's why I use it. You forgot to set oversampling at the ridiculously high thing. Yeah, no, that's... What's the maximum? 1024 times. Last time it destroyed my PC. Do you remember? Yeah, so with 48 we get a lot more phasing already. It's still kind of standard. I think what I want to do is do 4 bands and have them... Let's delete this. 4 bands. Okay. And then I can go to multi-parameters. This one I learn here, here, and here. Okay. Then I go into here. We have 3 different values. And I can set this from 20 to, let's go 500. 500. And this goes 40 to 1000. always like a double, right? 40. And this goes 80 to 2K. 2540. Okay, I think now. Yeah, we just have like a 3 crossover filters shifting across, which should be much more phasing than we had before. So it should be sounding a lot more processed. Let's look at the waveform here. We're already getting a bit more processing, but the transient is still very, very strong. Or is this less? How is it if I'm going down? Let me check. Yeah, so that's the highest. Let's start with 24 dB per octave. I'm also going to go down 1 so that it's lower in the frequency spectrum. Still very, very minimal phasing, actually. I'd expected much more. It's too clean. There we are. There we are getting a little bit more of a dirty waveform, I think. Look at the post-ringing though. The post-ringing is massive on it still. Is there a Psytrance remix competition you guys know of going on at the moment? No? Which headphones are you using? These are the Sennheiser HD 280 Pro 64 ohm. I've learned how to make a comb filter only with oscillator waves from the synth group. You put the wave against itself and feedback back it over 100%. Yeah, what you're doing then essentially is just making a copy of the wavetable. Comb filter is nothing more than 2 waves phasing out each other. I think I can prove that if, how is that done again? If I sum 2, wait, experiment time. I think a comb filter is just 2 detuned waves. If you want the comb filter to move, it's just 2 detuned waves of the same wave, but mono. So theoretically, this should be a comb filter. Ooh. I think we can get a more stable setup if we do like this and then like this. That should be a comb filter. Is it? Yep, you can see the combs. 2 slightly offset waves from each other. Which makes sense, because this is just going to cancel out some harmonics. Right? Any multiple of the exact distance between the 2 waves is just going to cancel out. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay, let's make this loud enough. 0. Ah, that's why it's so quiet. I want to import this. There I am. Now I was dropping out. Yeah, now it's actually dropping me out. Yeah, it's the thing that happens every once in a while. Every stream, I have 2 or 3 moments where I don't know if it's my modem or if it's an OBS issue. It just drops out. It's not a PC issue, because my old PC had the same problem. But it might be a strange setting that I have in OBS that I need to change or something. Or my Wi-Fi router just doing strange things. One of the 2 of those is causing the issue. And I don't know what it is. Oh, I imported it in the wrong way. We need to nave this. That looks cool. Look at this. I actually want this to have more of an effect. I'll make the same thing again. I'll go into my parameters and I'll set the high point higher. We can do this at... I guess I could add a 0 to all of them. That would be the highest that it would go. We could get 10 times the limit, I guess. Right? 20k. Yes, perfect. Now it just goes up and down the whole spectrum. I should save this preset. Add multiparam 3. Right? Yes. Let's record this. Okay, so it's the same thing, just with a like a bigger length between start and end point. Okay, so now we import it again. Nave. Yeah, now you can see what it's really doing. It's really like shifting in and out. And if you get the right position here, then this could also be for baselines. Could be nice. Done. What I want to do is, again, phase offset. At the end, we do 0. And at the start, we do this. And now it should... Perfect. Look at that. That looks very, very clean. It just kind of morphs behind from it, from the back of it. You can see towards the end, you can see exactly where the post ringing goes into the next oscillation. I don't think there's really a way to fix that. To have this effect without the post ringing at some point just oscillating into the next wave. Right, it would be cool if we could just extend this pattern without it overlapping into the next wave and without it causing this click to go off of 0. If there's a way to do that, then that would be very, very nice. That would be ideal. Resample. And the post ringing is gone. Yeah, no, the post ringing, this part doesn't matter. What happens here is that at some point in the phasing, right, of this wave cycle, it's gonna go into the next wave cycle, and it just starts to mess up the post. You can see it happen here. This is about where it starts to happen, right, where the wobbly bit comes in. So then what you would say is I would theoretically need to resample each cycle, or I would need to build up this sample by creating each cycle, each wave cycle on its own. It's the lowest frequencies, I suppose. Ooh, yes. Oh, idea. Oh, we still had this on. There's an issue? Oh, it's just the same one twice. We don't want that. If I just remove the lower frequencies from this patch and reintroduce them. Exactly. Yes, that's a good point. So we'll need to test which frequencies they are. If I put it here, we should see the first filter is around 80 Hertz. So if I like cut the lowest 4 harmonics from it, I'll go pin 5 to ends. This will be our low frequencies. Those will stay the same. And then this will remove these 4 frequencies. If I now put these two together and listen to this. Okay. We've already saved this wavetable, I think. Because I do want to save this version. This is the normal one. Yeah, that looks a lot more stable. That's perfect. So the high pass will cause a phase shift if you do it with an EQ filter, but this will be clean, so it's very nice. Yes, exactly. Let's have a look. It's clean all the way through. It just becomes more and more phased. Drop clip. Dada is here again. Dada is only here if I'm doing wavetable stuff. But I don't mind. Nave. Yeah, there's a phase offset. So there's an error in that the phase is not the same. We want no random phase on neither of them, because obviously we just want like one phase thing in here. Right, we don't want them to be different between them. Sometimes I watch, but I don't join the chat. Yeah, no, that's okay. I get that a lot actually with people saying, oh, I saw the stream, and then I don't remember their name at all, and they just watch and don't chat. Or a lot of people who rewatch the stream back, which I think, to me, has never appealed to me, like watching a stream after it happened. But I guess if it's for you, then that's fine, that's there. It's nice that the resource now is no longer clocking up like my main videos, because they recently subdivided it so that you have a part for shorts, you have a part for videos, and you have a part for live streams. It used to just all be the same thing, which was very annoying. But now it's all like its own category. I guess I don't know where I was going with that. I was talking about people lurking, but kind of went somewhere else. Okay, so let's set a starting point here. 180 degrees, then our end point. Perfect. Oh, wrong button. Triple sweep. This should not bleed into the next frequency anymore. It's doing it a little bit, but it's not that big of a problem. Andre, how are you doing? You have to scroll to the bottom. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. They removed a lot of things. Also, a lot of artists There's a lot of... The reason why I never made like an artist page, because there's such a thing as an artist page on YouTube, is because within an artist page... Oh, I need to rescan folder on disk. Within an artist page, you cannot sort anymore the different uploads. You should be able to just do that, in my opinion. But you can't. That's annoying. Found your channel recently from watching Dash Glitch videos. Yeah, he shouted me out again. He made a shout out for this trick. Where is it? Not the M transient MB, but M freeform phase trick. This little plugin here. It's a magical plugin. In his big video on... I was actually watching that before the stream. His big video on bass processing. I got to the point where he gave me the shout out and then I had to just start the stream because otherwise it was getting way too late. I mean, I was already running late. Normally I like to stream roughly an hour earlier. But I was recording the masterclass as well, which is now fully recorded. I just need to edit it and then hopefully still by the end of the month it's just going to be finished. But yeah, I saw his shout out and I can see it in my analytics every time he gives me a shout out, because when the video posts, my live subscriber count just goes up by 10, like immediately. That's kind of funny. I wasn't there for the premiere. That would have been good marketing, I guess. Yeah, I want to check this in the baseline, because we have our baseline still somewhere here. Yes. I could just put this right after. And don't have to scroll so far. Yeah, that's perfect. There's some stuff in here that I can consolidate and turn off as well. Compressor part, I don't need this here. Yeah, so it's a bit cleaner, it's a bit easier to see. Community vibes. Yeah, there's... Speaking about community vibes, I'm not going to spoil it. But there's going to be some cool stuff in regards to the community very, very soon. Actually, I want to quickly go back into this one and save this as I'm going to probably clean all of this up and work with a few different ways of like playing around with how I want my bass patch to be, but I do want to finally get to like a point where I just have a bass patch that I can pull up, because every time I start the production I have to do the same setup with the LFO, the same setup with this LFO here, the same setup in here with the velocity, setting the phase to 0, and sometimes I forget. So I would like to have a quick start patch like I have now. This might be a little bit too much with the phasing already in there. I would need to see if that's what I like. It's a bit quiet, isn't it? Maybe it's my volume. What's my output volume? Aha. Yeah, and there's a little bit of like going over. This should be good. It's also still very low for my liking. Macro on the filter maybe 2. Yeah, there should be a few things that I'm going to then create macros for. Right now it's just the amount of phasing that you want. But I'll probably have an option where I can just switch to a normal saw wave. Maybe there's a way to do that. I don't know, because I already use both the first modulation slot here, as well as the second, the envelope. Let's actually do that. I want to experiment a bit, because I do have an idea on how this could be done. The first thing that I want to do is move these points around here. This goes all the way down, and then this goes like so. Because that means that it will start with no attack to it, for sure. Otherwise, there might be a case where it like slides up, right? I don't want that causing any click issues. We don't need any release either. What I could do is, instead of doing this with the velocity, I create modulate y LFO bus 1 velocity, y LFO bus 2 velocity. We set both of these to 0 and unipolar. This one goes all the way up, and this then goes to exactly here. So this is now my velocity control. What I could then do is have a switch between the saw wave and the not saw wave. So this goes there, this goes through, this goes like this. That's gonna sound terrible, of course. You get that comb filtering. That's not what you want. How would I do that? Velocity on both, I think, and then invert it, and then both like -99. So if you... No, not velocity, the macro 2, sorry. Macro 2 would be our like switching. So now it's off. If I turn it all the way up, it's gonna switch. That's not what I want. I want it to always be the first, unless it's the last thing. Okay, so that means that this one needs to be inverted and this one needs to be like this. And then in the minus. Now it's going this one, still going that. If I do it fully up, then it's the other one. So I have the option to switch to the other version. I want to be able to modulate my phase precisely. Let's go like -4. That should be good enough, because I usually just set within that very small area. For this example, I need a different kick. Let's go 9. Okay, what other... Okay, so this is going to be phasing amount. This will be oscillator switch, and this is the phase. Let's open up SizeScope. I quickly want to check how the phase looks, if that actually does what I want it to. Doesn't it? It should move the phase, no? Why is that not showing in the waveform? I can definitely hear that it's changing. Making these available for everyone. What you're doing is great. Much love from T. Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad that you enjoy my content. Is Syscope was it just broken? There we are. So the phase is actually working the way that I intended to work. I just want these to be, maybe -4 is a bit little. Let's go like -10. That should be enough, because you don't want this range to be too big. You just want to have influence over the kind of sound of the transient. Not so much like be able to shift it off the transient itself. Like I don't want you to be able to start here, just in this very small little part of the waveform, right? Currently it's in the phased version, but that's no difference. I still have one macro left. I would like to use that for setting the amount here, which means, okay, how much is this? Let's go all the way. Right? No, that's not good. About here, about like 50 Hertz should be okay. And then how much is it to the top? It's 77 to the top. So we set this to like 40, and then I can add another 37 here. If I go LFO 1, 37, filter cutoff, and then this is going to be macro 4. This allows you to like dial in the extra click. I think, to be honest, I'm always just going to play with this at the highest point. That's really cool that you can set the switch just off the phasing within the oscillation itself. I'm still getting some clicks. That might be from our choice here. Oh. Make sure that this does go to 0 all the time. Why does it not revolve to 0 then? It should just go to 0, no? But this is not at 0 dB or minus infinite dB, like silence. Why is that? It's like programming. It's just doing what you tell it to do, but you're telling it to do something that you don't want it to do and you don't know why. This should go to 0 because our volume goes to 0, our volume curve. There's no processing behind it. Is it just a filter? Yes. It's just this filter that makes go to 0. Is there a way? No, I want the... Yes, I want this to go to... That's... Then this becomes our volume accentuator instead of this, I guess. What did I mess up here? Is it distorting even though I don't have... Now it's distorting even though I don't have that. Wait, remove all modulates, this goes to 0, and then this will be like this. Right? Okay, so that makes no sense. I hope you understand what I want to do. I wanted to use the distortion like shaper as like a volume control, because you can just set the mix, which theoretically should be a volume control, but it doesn't look like it wants to do that. It does look like it always does some distortion. And I don't know if there's any other way to do that. Picture quality low for anyone. I can check, but my own version does say that it's 1080p 60 FPS. That shouldn't be the case. Okay. Ah, it's because it's doing both. Oh, wait, it does work. It does work. I just need to set up the switch again. I removed the switching effect. Of course. So it was macro 1A volume. Oh, now we can do it like this. I need to set this up here. Yeah, now it's cutting out the filtering artifacts as well, which means this can go to back again and this can go where it needs to be. Right about there. Okay, this goes like that, this goes like that. If there was a way to... Maybe there is. Maybe that if I go like this, then it corrects for the... Because you can hear how it goes down in volume and then goes back up again. It's just difficult for me to see what you're doing. Yeah, sometimes YouTube just doesn't want you to do higher quality. Whenever I'm watching like the Blast CSGO thing, or I think even ESL is on YouTube now. But like CSGO tournaments, then it's also a hassle with the quality always dropping, even though I'm just on like 4G. Oh, I can actually normalize this then. Ooh. Let's try 50%, 51. Okay, so that doesn't actually fix where, like, the bias. Switch to my PC from my phone, much better now. Yeah, that will probably do it. Usually on your phone it's a lot worse quality. Also for me, like the... But to be honest, no, with my phone it's or with my PC it's also on 4G. I always get it when it's like 4G. When I'm on my Wi-Fi, then it's okay. I wonder if there's a way to make this, because there's no remapping, like modulation remapping in Serum. Because what I want to do is I want it to, when I select 50, have it still have the same volume. And I can't just compress it, because that will get rid of the velocity that we set. Which is... Wait, where do we set velocity? The LFO bus, and the LFO bus goes to here. Which means that we could compress it beforehand. If I compress it pretty strong. Yeah, that works. You get some cool tones out of it as well. Why is it starting so strange? Ah, okay, that fixes it. What happens when the oscillator switch is at the middle? Yeah, it's playing 50% of both of them. You can see 50% volume of both of them. The problem with that, and I think it's still happening, I think I just need to limit this at maybe not -40. Actually, yeah, let's go -40. Now it's set up so where it keeps it normalized. Whereas if you do it like this, you switch volumes. What is this again set to? Macro 4. Oh yeah, the filter cutoff. I'm thinking of setting the phase a little bit higher. Let's go like 43 on both of them. Because it's still in there. Why is it not changing? You should start after the click, but it's not. Ah, it's because we have instant attack. Ah. Okay, so this goes to 80 then, 180. The problem with this click is that it has, like, it goes up and then instantly goes back down again. Let's analyze our click here. I think it has to do with the way that the LFO is set up. I want our click to be a bit more. Yeah, this is kind of the way that you would want it. I would like to remove this bit here. Because right now there's like a part going in. Let's zoom in. Let's first of all set this to 0.2. And zoom in all the way, please. Is that because of the filter still? Yeah. So now we get this click which is like slightly off the area. They play both because you want the saw mix with the phased wave. Maybe. I want to have that option because there are some cool tones, right? I think I'll usually just keep the oscillator switch all the way below. This filter drive that can change the phase. It's just a normal filter, I think. Yeah. I think maybe the normal clean one is a bit better. Is it? No. It's definitely going to be... It's definitely some kind of issue there with the phase of the filter. I don't think you can get rid of that unless you resample the filter movement into the actual wavetable, and I don't want to do that here. Because then we lose the ability to select our phase here. It's still strange that it leaves that little bit of starting position there. Like, what is that little blob? It just doesn't start playing until there. Ooh, you can zoom in into the individual samples. I didn't know that. That's cool. But it's definitely off the grid. It doesn't show like this, but if you zoom into it like here. Modulation envelope shape. This is starting at the high point. At least depending on our velocity, it's going to go to a high point. My oscillator phase is exactly at 180 degrees. And even if I switch that, it's not that. You can see that the phase is changing, but it's still like starting to play later. Oh, I do want to get probably 1 millisecond or so of attack. Let's go with like 3 milliseconds. That should be okay. And we'll have 1 millisecond of release just to be clean. In the modulation matrix, I mean. Okay, what are we looking for? The LFO2 is just going to the distortion wetness, which is this. It's the compressor. That's why the compressor... Oh. That's why the compressor does that comb filtering if you dry wet it. Oops. Don't do that. How is this gain implemented if that's doing that? But why would the compressor introduce... Ooh. It does like to distort this compressor. The attack time is set at 0. No, it's like an actual delay. It spoke about phase shift caused by compressors and other effects too. Yeah, but this isn't in multiband, so there shouldn't be any delay into the signal. This is not... What we're seeing is not a phase offset. This is just like an actual like delay, right? Like if you were to unlink this and set this to like 1 millisecond, no feedback. Or let's link this. If I go... It's kind of this kind of delay that we're seeing, right? Just very little coming from the compressor. And I don't know why. I'm a noob anyway. No, it's good suggestions. It's good things that people are discussing this with me. Because then I can explain what I think the problem is. If you increase a bit the compressor text, there won't be a delay no more. No, it does more delay. Why would you want that? The compressor attack is a delay. What? This is an issue. That's not normal. This shouldn't happen. Read the manual. Page 28. Compressor attack. The amount of time in milliseconds for the gain reduction to engage a longer attack signal through the attack gain more completely. That's true, but why does your compressor attack is not an attack parameter, it's a delay parameter. It's a look ahead parameter. It shouldn't be. This is like an actual issue. This is a bug. This cannot be the intended behavior of the attack parameter to delay your signal. I've been wasting time. It's so nice. Yeah, the manual's right here if you need it. I can only conclude that this is a bug. This cannot be the intended behavior. But there's no way that I can fix this. If this introduces a delay, then I cannot make it go earlier than where it needs to be. How did I even catch that? Because it doesn't show when it's zoomed out. But I definitely heard that there was something going on. I'll quickly check on my speakers how this bass line sounds, and if it sounds good, I'm gonna save it. It still has that strange click. I mean, the compressor is just for making sure that this octave switch thing works. You use Ableton, right? Yes, this is Ableton. I wonder if the... I guess this is not... I mean, yeah, it's... If you want to test some cool, super simple yet creative Max for Live devices I built, I could tell you what they are called. Sure. Maybe not now, but at some point I would definitely test them. Okay, so I think most of the comb filtering is just the phasing that we see, which is kind of logical. Ooh. 2 are parameter modulation, even audio rate, and 1 is a sequencer. I'll write you a message. Sure, you can send me a message on Discord. I think that's the best. I mean, you could just, if you want, put them in resources, which is the Discord channel that I use. Okay, so this is... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to use this filter cutoff attenuator. I think I can do better. So we want to set you to nothing. We set it so it can be used with the automatic system, and then macro 1 was 77, I think. No? Ah, no, this is the wrong one. That's the macro. Okay, the LFO one needs to be 77. What I want to do with this thing, I think, is a sub removal. Because that's kind of like a standard thing I need to do on my baselines. 0, we want this to go like 5 dB below. Lower the sub bass. If there was a way for the sub... I don't think that this is phase retriggering. I want to check quickly before I say something stupid. It is. But yeah, but then it doesn't correlate with the phase of this. Right? It's gonna correlate with the phase of this one, but not with the sub-bass phase of this one. Unless these are always the same. So the phase of this lowest sub-bass here is constantly changing. Yeah, that's what I thought. And you cannot have it stay in the same phase always, because then the click changes. Man, I have so much to learn. Can you show me what your LFOs are modulating just quickly? Yes, this LFO is the shape of the filter cutoff. It's doing the filtering. This LFO is my volume control. In this case, we have a very weird volume control setup because this velocity is modulating the points. Normally, I could revert that again, theoretically. But what that allows me to do is it leaves me with auxiliary sources. So I could set even more auxiliary sources if I wanted to. Otherwise, what I would normally do in my patch is just have this LFO create or like modulate the level, and then have the velocity be the auxiliary of the level. In my case, it's doing the cross shaping, which is like the volume control in this patch. You can pause the stream if you want and screenshot this. Or watch it back. But this is the modulation matrix. How far below is this now? Oh, that's 4 dB, that's not what I want. Like 2 dB should be okay. Can be a bit tighter of a modulation. Actually, for almost all of my basslines, I EQ out around 650. quite a bit. You can emulate that. I don't like that nasally kind of frequency in my basses, so I remove a little bit of that. Also, we want this before the volume, so that... Oh, the reason why we're doing it this way, our volume control, is so that any phasing coming from the filter and the EQ, in this case, is taken care of. Back later, I always struggle with getting my bass lines to groove once in about 6 months now. Can I give you a tip about bass lines? And this is really coming from somebody who's been spending a lot of time, as you can probably tell, experimenting with bass lines. Don't worry about it. What people do in Psytrance production is that they listen to their kick and bass constantly. They listen and they listen and they listen, and what they fail to notice is that there's not going to be part of your track where your kick and bass is going to be fully on its own, right? You'll have maybe parts where it's like almost on its own, but there's always going to be like a delay tail that's going to go over top, or a reverb tail that's over top, or when you get to the more high energy parts, it's just going to be full of synths. So at that point, those little details, those little things that you're trying to tweak, those last 5% that you're trying to get, they're just going to not be heard. Percussions as well. Yes, exactly. All of those things are going to mask all of the problems that you're going to have with your bass lines if you just listen to them solo. Right now I've been spending so much time on this particular bass line because I want this to be like a dial-in version of like my bass line, that I can just dial in whenever I want to. But I would not spend this much time on my bass line when I'm normally writing my tracks. I think I want to have both of these set to the macro. So this one is gonna go to -6. So I can either decide to just get normal output or have kind of like a standardized EQing. Okay, so this will be EQ. If I decide that I want to like EQ this with my standard EQ with equalizer, I can do that, and I can really dive in and like set the individual harmonics the way that I want them to. I want this one to get a little bit more power, for example. I want my sub to be a little bit lower. I can EQ my click. A nice bit of power out of that. Get rid of the highest frequencies. Actually, I want more click, I think. Yeah, I would do kick and bass EQing like this. But if I just want a quick EQ, I could just turn this up. But it's here you can't use melody base. Can't use melody baseline. Yes, I can. Yes, because the frequencies that we perceive aren't correlated with the melody that we're playing. I don't like the sound of 500 hertz. It's not that I don't like the sound of the whatever harmonic is causing it. I just don't like the sound of that particular frequency region. So even with different melodies, I just want to carve out that frequency region. Also, little trick, if you do want your EQ to follow, there you are. You have a shift parameter. You can set the semitone exactly how you want it. In this particular EQ, M equalizer. Melda stuff is great. In Melda, everything is possible. I think you might even be able to send MIDI to this. Open MIDI settings. Notes. I think channel all channel. Yeah, if you set up a particular setup of MIDI notes that you can set into this, you can key track this. You can set up automatic key tracking. Maybe there is even just like a normal key tracker. Maybe with Bitwig with node parameters or Ableton. Yeah. With a little bit of practice and a little bit of setup, I'm sure that you can get this to key track towards the shape. There are even key tracked, what's it called? Equalizers that just analyze the incoming like audio, so you don't even have to send MIDI to it. Because this, I think you have to do it with MIDI. If you want to key track this, you have to just set up your, I think, your notes controls here, and you set up for every note that you play, right? Your minimum and your maximum, you just make those be the same note, so that for every note you play, you set a different parameter of shift, I guess. Or a different value, maybe? Wait, how would you do that? Let's test something here. C0 to C1. No, because... Oh, wait. This is 4 octaves. So we go from C minus 1 to C3. So that each note corresponds to one shift here, right? So now if I... Yeah, once it's set up, you can save it as a preset. Let's take this and send it to 19 M equalizer. Note controllers. Shift. Minimum value, maximum value. Learn. Channel 1. Check. There it is. Do you see it? It's moving. It's moving. I actually need to set the controller up by 2 then. So C 0. C4, I think. If I now play... I want it so that if it plays a C0, that it also is a C0. Right, if I play C0, this note, it should be standard, I think. Now it's minus 12. So we need to go up to C1. And then have this go up to... Or not. Actually lower one, right? Yes. So if you send this to C1, okay, now what I would need for this to work, for this equalizer to work as like a MIDI parameter, is for this MIDI to also be sent let's actually make a little bit of melody. You ever come to South Africa for a Psytrance party? It's a long flight. That's gonna be a long flight for a Psytrance party, given that we have a lot of Psytrance parties here in Europe. What I would need to do is send this MIDI within this track to this oscillator. Is that possible? Is there a way to do that? Ambient control MIDI monitor. What does this tell me? It just gives me the notes. Flow. Oh, that gives you all... Ooh! So this is MIDI data. But it doesn't give me... It doesn't allow me to change the output. MIDI effect rack. Is there a way that I can intercept this MIDI and send it to 2 different places? Does anyone know? Maybe I need a Max for Live device for that? That's always the solution, isn't it? Max for Live MIDI effects. Like MIDI send. No, this is OSC protocol. That's something else. OSC is also protocol. It doesn't just stand for oscillator. I would love to be able to send MIDI to both Serum and M Equalizer. Now this is where Bitwig, props to Bitwig here. Bitwig by default send the MIDI that's on the channel to every single plugin that's able to receive it. Ableton doesn't do that. And normally for each way that you want to do that is through here. So I would need to take input from this and then send it. Also now it's going to go here. I need to go -7 to correct. Oh, it doesn't like this. It doesn't like what we're doing. Now it works. Yeah, it was because you're shifting the filters, it generates a lot of high frequency content. I could see it here, and you could see the meters doing some weird stuff. Once this is finished, yeah. Actually, you know what? Maybe this does solve my problem, because let's say that I want to now shift keys, and I want this G0 idea to go to like A sharp. Right, so if I now go to A sharp, I should, let's check, temporarily going to move this down. Is the equalizer sitting? Yes. Okay, so then that's no issue. What that does mean though is if I want to remove this, set this to 0. I need to set this to C, 0. And then select it so that this one is there, basically. I would need to EQ my bassline in C before, and then I can set the key that I want. And now the EQ is following it. Right, this is still, okay, G sharp then. Why is it +8? Did I set it to G sharp? I did. That explains why it's in G sharp. You can surgical EQ and then still play with it. Yes. Even this should still work. I would love to be able to consolidate this to a single track, because it's annoying that I have to make another track, take input from this track, and then send it back to itself. If there's a way to, if anybody knows of a way to intercept the MIDI before it goes into the serum and then send it to the equalizer as well, that would be nice. Let's actually check. There's a website for Max for Live devices. Max for Live community resource. I think this is it, right? This MIDI devices. Yes. Let's see. Search MIDI send. MIDI send and receive tool set. MIDI sender. Only intended for use with the blah. Okay. This is a set of MIDI signals, sending and receiving tools. You can freely send MIDI signals from one track to another and enable channels. Also has semitone. This is not exactly what I want. I want to be able to send it to a device. receiver. I want to be able to send it to a device like I am able to send it like this, with the track and the equalizer. If I can do that, then I can just save it as a rack, and then it's like finished. Do you have a fixed stream schedule? The only fixed schedule that I have is that around this time I stream every Sunday. Next Sunday there will be a challenge, which reminds me, I still need a sound for the challenge. Or an idea for the challenge. In Discord, stream information, I think, is the channel for that. You can submit and chat about ideas. I still have no idea if by Sunday I have no idea, I'll just make a sample out of something, but that's a little bit boring. I'd much rather get a sample from the community, like we did the first time. But yeah, every Sunday I stream, and that's around 4:30. But usually with my Sunday streams, I put an announcement beforehand, so you can set a reminder. So in the afternoon you will be able to see the announcement, and then you'll get like a notification when I am live. Did I cut out again? Did all of the information that I just say just not come through? Oh, it's not for me. For me it's good. Back. I heard it all. Okay. Then it might have just been on my Logify's end. I heard most of it. Okay, so every Sunday I do a regular stream. Yeah, there's notifications that announce it beforehand. So if you follow my channel, you should see that in your subscription box, and then you can click notify me, and it will send you a message in there, and then it will just do it. Either way, see you, Andrew and Andre. Alejandro. Create a new chain, insert external instrument, map M to EQ. You're right. New chain. I go MIDI. No, audio. External instrument, and then you can MIDI output to itself, equalizer, and then I shouldn't have to do this, and now it should still work. Yes, that's what you're searching for. Thank you so much. It's Andre. I'll try to remember. It's perfect, dude. That's amazing. A key tracked equalizer for your bassline, all within one channel, using the most convoluted setup imaginable. But great. This is great. I can save this as just like one instrument rack. And the cool thing is I can just share this on my Patreon, and you guys will be able to just download it. If you have M Equalizer and Serum, then you can just run this. Right? And you can play with the 4 parameters. This is my like standard bass patch. Starting bass patch for sidetrans. And amount is with 1M. Which there's 2 I's there. Yeah, that's not going to fit. I should capitalize that for aesthetic purposes. I'm so happy we made this. The only disadvantage is that if you're not used to so the way that you're going to have to EQ this, if you want to do the EQing, if you want to set up the EQing, is that you always need to EQ with respect to the C note. I guess this should be the C note as well then. Right, because it's going to remove respect to the C note, depending on what MIDI you send to it. But that's very, very cool. Yeah, so this is finished. This, I can save this. This is self-following bass EQ. I also want to save this, add I need to get into the habit of saving more things like this, because it's super easy to just drag and drop. Try that like my BPM. How does it like sound? This trick is it's potentially much more instrumental than I thought. I said before, I praised Bitwig a little bit because I like the idea that you can send one MIDI to multiple plugins. But now that I know this, I can just do that on my own, and I don't have to deal with the fact that it's the default. Because in Bitwig, if you remember when I experimented with Bitwig, by default, it sends MIDI to every plugin that accepts MIDI on the track. Unless you put like a note receiver in front of it, note reader or something. A device, either way, like a Bitwig. They made a special Bitwig device to stop that behavior from happening. Because, for example, LFO tool, modulation LFO tool, these numbers are MIDI controlled. You can see can be controlled with MIDI notes 12 to 23, can be controlled with MIDI notes 24 to 35. If you then send those MIDI notes to your bassline, it's going to mess up this number. And we had issues with my sidechaining not working because it would just set this number to like 9, which is this random shape, right? So your sidechaining is not going to work. But in Ableton, you can deliberately set up then within the actual track itself MIDI sending to different devices. And I could potentially fix the whole issue of having to EQ your bassline against C by setting this lower, I think. So now it's giving me a shift of 0, even though I'm sending it a note higher than C, whereas normally C is denoted by 0. In this case it doesn't work because we corrected for that bias. We EQ'd this, for example, to the C. But that means that if you have an EQ shape already existent, you can set up a chain like this and just set a pitch down in front of it, and it will just pitch down your MIDI signal and counteract whatever setup we have in the MIDI settings notes, this stuff here. Because you don't want to have to do that within here, right? You don't want to have to move this up to, oh, my bass line is in G, so I have to move this to G minus 1, G3, right? That's annoying. But if you can just move this around, then that's easy. Okay. Hell, we could make a harmonizer doing this. Another experiment coming. What do I have? What do I have that I can harmonize? A vocal, I guess. Yeah, MIDI track. Let's go. Omnisphere. I guess I could just get like a choir and try to harmonize that. Because there's a harmonizer as well in the Melda bundle. Hey Projector, what is your musical background? Did you learn sound design or production course, anything, or learn yourself? Well, up until last January, I was completely self-taught over 9 years. It's actually been, one of these days, it's been a decade since I've been producing. So it has taken a long time. But over the last year, I've been attending a university in music engineering. It's a master's degree. It focuses more on things like plugin development, the creation of hardware, using the hardware, all of the technical backgrounds behind music production and the whole music industry, right? From speaker design to some acoustic stuff, basically everything in that regards. So over the last year specifically, I've been getting a lot of technical knowledge behind all of the plugins and the tools that we like to use. And I found that that's a really good way to kind of deep dive into like music production. Obviously, I don't suggest that anybody who wants to do music production should get a master's degree, but it does help. Okay, let's write like a quick... But I don't have any like musical skill or musical background in the sense that I don't know how to read notes, I don't know how to do harmonies, stuff like that, or write melodies. There's a reason that I make psytrance. And that's because I have no real like musical instrument skill. I guess we can go then down. I want to see if I can make an auto harmonizer. I guess here. If I take this now, Control G, new chain, we go external instruments, and then after here I have to, what is it? M harmonizer. MB, I think. I think this needs MIDI input. Requires MIDI input. Yes. Okay, so then here I can send it to itself. Here. Oh no, that's not it. This one. That sounds terrible. Maybe it requires a different MIDI input, like MIDI octave. Don't they teach music theory there? What are the subjects you take? Yes, they do teach music theory, but I started the study in January, and that means that I started in the second semester of the first year. I'm going a little bit slower. But what I need to do is I need to redo like the first semester of the first year still, in which in which I have music theory. Sorry, I just saw some questions in chat and I read them. Projector, what is become a member of the channel? Where is that? I used to have channel memberships on, but I turned them off because I now have a Patreon, which I think is a better system. So if that's still somewhere, then I need to get rid of that. Yeah, become a member of the channel. I'll get rid of that. That shouldn't be there. That's no longer a feature. It's kind of like Patreon, but built into YouTube. But there are so many limitations with like Discord integration and stuff like that, that I decided to go through Patreon instead. Also, you cannot give like early access to videos, which is what I wanted to do. So if you become a patron, you can see my videos a few days early, right? You get presets and you get a whole bunch of other things. You get discount codes for my products, which is actually the biggest benefit now that I have my remix packs out. If you're interested in remixing my tracks from the album, I'm gonna do a little bit of marketing. It's time for some marketing. Let me go to products. If you want to remix the whole album, you can do so for $300, which is a lot. But if you think about it, you get licenses for 13 tracks that you can remix, and you get all of the stamps for all of the tracks. So you can also use this as a like mixing exercise. There's also individual tracks, right? So these are $30. Here the savings isn't as much, but for $300, if you get the 40% discount code from the Patreon, which you get by just becoming a member for the $15 tier member for 1 month, you can just join this and you save over $100. Which is, don't do that, because you fuck me, but still. How often do you, oh yes, the preset thing. What are my thoughts on presets? Just use presets. What matters is that you get the best possible song, not the best possible sound design session. I don't get this discussion. What do you mean by cheating? Anonymous tip $10. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know who you are, so I can't thank you personally. But thank you, Anonymous. It's not, no, that's astronaut. But for beginner, if they use preset, they will never let to sound design. So what? It was me. Well, thank you, Mindbee. Thank you. You can. So sometimes it's if you don't put in your username, I think it just shows you as anonymous. But for the beginner, if they use preset, they will never learn to sound design. Yeah, but that's not a problem, because sound is, to be honest, at the end of the day, it's all about making the best music possible. And if you can get good music without learning how to sound design, then it's okay. It's the same. It's kind of the same as like lyrics writers. The guys that, like Max Martin and the other guy that writes so many of the #1 hits today in like pop music. Those guys provide a service by which other artists become more efficient with their musical output. At the end of the day, if you want to make more music, then you need to have other people do some of the work of making good sounds and making good lyrics and getting good ideas and all of that stuff. Somebody like, I don't know, Taylor Swift, or maybe that's not a good example, but pop singers, they spend time with writers so that they can output more music, so that their fans have more music to listen to, and that they can make better music as well. At the end of the day, it's not about your technical prowess as a producer, it's about what you bring towards your fans, what you bring towards the people who actually want to listen to your music. Unless you want to obviously stay within the bubble of like producers and that kind of community. And there's a bunch of people that just make music for the fact that they love making music. And in that sense, maybe you could argue that there's a little bit of a strange thing if you are in that sphere and then you don't sound design. But if you're just making music for random people to enjoy, then all that matters is that random people enjoy your music. How it is made is nobody's business. Right? I don't think this is a strange take. I hope. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think that this is not a good take, but I think it's a decent take. Hey, why is there... my stream preview is far behind. Sorry. I agree. Okay. Yeah, you could still say that maybe it's a better idea to just learn to sound design if that's what you're into, but I don't think that that's like a big problem. Edits. Sharpness. If you got the idea, then try to reach it however possible. I agree, yes. There's like a wobbly kind of feeling to it. I don't like that. Is that people prefer and appreciate more a live performance instead of a DJ mixing tracks, even though it's worse than a proper master track. So I do absolutely think that people care how it was made. I think I disagree with that. I think that within the production community, there is a lot of like emphasis on that kind of thing. But if you go to like a festival, like, I don't know, Ozoro, Sci-Fi, Boom Festival, nobody cares that there's just a guy pressing a button, pressing play, even if he just puts on a live set. Let's be real. People in the crowd that are there at the festival having a good time, they don't really care that the music isn't made live, even if it's not mixed live, I think. If there's just a guy standing up there pretending to be a DJ, who cares? There's a mix playing, there's music playing, they can go insane, they can dance. That's all that matters. When you are maybe in a very small setting, in those cases, then it's maybe a bit more. But if you are set on going out and having a good time and dance. I think it's much more important that the flow of the whole live set that is being put on works well together than that it's made right in front of you with your own eyes. Obviously, it can give a cool vibe to a live set, and it does add value to a live set to know that it is being made right in front of you. And there's a small community that is really into that thing, but I think it's the production community. In my opinion, I like producers with the knowledge, like you design your sound yourself, mix yourself in pure dedication, hard work. People use presets from top to bottom. That's kind of cheating, I think. I don't agree. I just yeah, it's hard for me to call that cheating, because at the end of the day, it's the result that matters, not the process. It's better and more engaging. That for me is live. Yeah, I agree. From a producer standpoint, I think it's more interesting to see that. But if I'm going to a party and I want to have a good time, then I genuinely don't care if it's live mixed and live created, or if there's a guy that puts on a playlist, presses play once, and then goes to the bar to get a drink. As long as I can go out of my mind and I can have a good time dancing with my friends. DJing is not that easy. You can make it as easy as you want. You can, as I said, you can prepare a live set in Ableton beforehand, press play, and have the live set do basically itself. Hell, you can just mix beforehand and then press play and just leave, right, for 2 hours. And it will just be one audio file playing constantly, and it will already be pre-mixed. But that's not really a live set. I think the good balance is what most DJs in the Psytrance community do, is that they just mix the tracks themselves, and they also give a little bit of swings to them by implementing effects on like the build-ups and doing cool transitions and that kind of stuff. It's not as hard as producing, DJing. I've done it a few times. It's not as hard. You do need... What's hard about DJing is reading the crowd. And what that means is that the crowd tells you what kind of music they want to hear. And it's really hard trying to understand what people want to hear. Because we've all heard a DJ like mess up a live set before, right? That they press the wrong button and suddenly the music stops, and then it's a quick laugh and they put on a new track and then they just continue. But what we do remember is a DJ that consistently puts on the music that you don't want to hear, right? That's a bad DJ. That's how we remember a bad DJ. Not by the one time that he accidentally presses a button and everything goes to shit. Sometimes when using presets, you kind of know what to look for and what type of sound you want. Do you? To be honest, anytime I use presets, I am completely lacking inspiration. Also because probably if I do know what I want to make, I just make it. That is an advantage of like being a sound designer. The difference between a disco joker and a joker. Yeah. For me, I use presets to get new inspiration, to get a sound that I wasn't expecting to work, and that's just, browsing stuff. But let's be real, if we really want to like full circle the discussion on using presets versus using to sound designing everything yourself, how many of you have made, I don't know, a crash sound for your productions? How many of you have made a hi-hat sound for your productions? Do you do it every production? I don't think so. I never do it. Is that cheating? You don't make the sounds yourself. Right? There's a line. And most people are fine with some sounds being across the line of just not making them yourself. The hi-hats, percussion loops, risers, downlifters, effect sounds, vocals. Do you all use your own vocals? I don't know. Yeah, do you have to make your own kick? Little Daviest? Yeah, I said that right. Do you have to make your own kick? I never make my own kick. And people like my music, so I don't see a problem with using sampled kicks, to be honest. I at least always make my kicks. I personally just don't like it. Yeah, of course, that's the way. Obviously, with the workflow that you might have, more control over it. Then, if that's the kind of workflow that you want to have, then it makes sense. But there's a certain group of psytrance producers that it's not in my community. It's in the community that I used to moderate on Reddit, the psytrance production community. There's a bunch of toxic people in there. Don't go there. And I say that as somebody who would used to regularly post there. But they were like religiously against any form of, the elitist kind of people that we have in the psytrance community. The part of the psytrance community that utters the phrase, "Oh, that's not real psytrance," anytime they hear anything that's like innovative and new, and that's not just a simple squelch on a kick and bass that they have heard 1,000 times. Those kind of people. I don't like those people. But that's what that means is, if you ask them, do you make every sound yourself, then they will say no. I use samples for my drums, I use samples for my effects, I use samples for my vocals, all of that. They have set a bar at some range. What they think, anything below that is fine to use samples for. If you go above that bar, that's not good, right? Kick is above, bass line is above, lead sounds is above, but anything like effects and stuff like that is below. And everybody has set their own bar, but there's no universal bar. And it doesn't matter either. All that matters is that you just make good music. So this discussion is completely meaningless, I have to say. I don't think every producer from Nano Records do everything on their own. The tracks sound very similar to each other. I don't want to call out this artist because I really like his music, but I'm going to name drop him anyway. There's a guy called Cambium. He makes psytrance, and he has 2 tracks. Do I have them here? I think I might have them here. I don't want to play them because then I get copyright strike, but where are my references? Here, full tracks. These 2 tracks. Fractions of Infinity and Tetria Oculus use a bunch of the same leads, or at least one of the same lead elements, as well as the same vocals in the intro. The main vocal from Fractions of Infinity is also present in here as more of like a background vocal. And I've always found it funny, but it never bothers me, because both of the tracks are just very good psytrance tracks. So that's why I say this at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter as long as you make good music. And nothing is going to change the fact that people who use a lot of presets and who use a lot of samples are going to be making more tracks because they spend less time on each sound. There's no rules or code of honor. There's a few people that want there to be a code of honor, but I just don't buy it. At the end of the day, only people in the production sphere actually care. if you go out and talk to anybody that just doesn't know music production, I don't even think that they'll know like how different sounds stack within it, like a track. I think I talked about this before. I was once sitting with my friends in the car, and we were listening to like some pop song, and there was a piano playing, and then like a normal bass line, right, an electric bass guitar. And I told them like, I like this track, but the bass guitar is too loud. And they were like, what bass guitar? There's like a piano playing. But they were playing like the same rhythm, and they could legit not hear the difference between the two different elements that were playing on top of each other. So anybody outside of like the production sphere listens to music in such a different way that we cannot comprehend, that it just doesn't make sense for the discussion. When I want to learn a synth, I make a whole track only with it, including percussions. That's a good idea. Exactly. Lil David says it. Do what you want is my motto. The end result is what matters. How you get there isn't relevant at all. Perfect. Why is this sounding so terrible? I would love if there was some kind of smoothing in here. There's like a click in there anytime you... And this harmonizer does not have to click, but it has that wobbly feeling. Except if you use the Melda plugins, then I heavily judge you. You're a person to understand the layout of some of their plugins. Do you really? Is it that bad? You have controls over here, you have your settings up top, these are all of your utilities, and here's your main process. You have any frequency selector on top if you have multiband, and that's it. I do get, yeah, if you want to get into like the settings and everything, there's a lot of windows that you can open and make more, right? But I don't think that that's that big of a deal. You don't really need those. It might be the fact that there's a reverb on this that is causing... It still has that kind of strange wobbly feeling. Maybe this is just not meant for these kind of vocals. We have... What if I do this with like an octave? Yeah, this just breaks down completely. I don't expect Melda plugins to not do what I want them to do. This is a new experience for me. What if this is like purely pop stuff? If there's moving vowels, let's see. It's performing a bit better. And more pop stuff. Is there like actual a cappella in here? Maybe that's what it needs. This little combo stuff. But then I cannot send the MIDI into it if I use like an audio track. I guess I could use a sampler, but that's strange. Let's see. If I go, let's turn this off. Let's make a new track. New chain in here. And let's just drop on like an audio sample, a vocal sample. Ethnic cinematic vocals. I guess I want them in C so that they're tuned. I'd like for this to be legato then, so it moves around. Controls. Mo glide, right? It's maybe an octave. It goes to C3. Okay, so now we're going up by an octave. Let's just do like 3 semitones. It sounds terrible, but it works how I want it to. Which is what I wanted to do with the experiment. But Melda is not to be messed with by me. I don't see... To me, there's... I mean, it's... I get it. A lot of the things are hidden behind menus and stuff like that. And there's a lot of control. And I mean a lot. I always like to pull up this example when people ask me how deep does Melda go. If you go into M Turbo Verb and you go into the edit mode, I can go in here and write down the mathematical formula that I want for each of the rooms that it emulates, right? Here, for example, the algorithm is just R, which I don't know what it means, but look at the parameters that you have control over. Early reflections, let's enable that and modify each early reflection in time and volume. Either positive volume or negative volume. Then you have like left and right. Randomize remove decay, remove this. I mean, what? Yeah, and then you have all of these things, right? The complexity, length. I have no idea what this is all about. These are different, like this one regards, I think, the blue ones, and then this one regards the green ones, I think. Or maybe this is left and right channel. To be honest, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. But some of the cool things about Melda is that you can have this in here, which is just your like basic manual. And I think if I open this up in my, oh please, in my web browser, it's a lot bigger. Yeah, you can see this manual is like a lot bigger. This is like an actual big manual, which is nice. Hey, is this the actual screen that I... Yeah, right? If I set this decay here, will it then... Why? Now the decay is set... It takes a screenshot of the plugin window and it shows it in here. Why? Some programmer had a lot of fun trying to implement that. For no reason. I guess it could be cool because it explains only the window that you're currently looking at. Maybe that's what's going on. I didn't read through the manual, but maybe it just shows you like the parameters that you are looking at. Which would be very good idea because there's so many parameter dumps in some of these Melda plugins that it's difficult to navigate the manual to get to all of them. What's some other things that we can do which is interesting to do with external instruments? There's not many instruments or effects that I need to send MIDI to for them to work. But why does it take a new screenshot every time? Because it tries to make sure that it's always on the window that you are on. Because if you change window and then go into like the manual, then it's maybe a different window. If I now go to edit and then go to the manual again, you see it's the different window. So it always chooses to show the window that you have. Does this mean that this one... Oh, let's see. Let's see if we can find something that is in here that's not in the other one. Band editor. Is that in here? No shot. No way, that's so cool. That's actually insane. They make the manual respond to only the window that you have open. So here it doesn't show you the parameters that it shows you here. That's why it's different. It only shows you the things that are currently on the screen. That's genius. Because otherwise the manual would be so long that you wouldn't be able to find anything. Because the plugin is so deep. So it allows you to, if you know that this happens, you can just look up the exact thing that you need by just going to the window that you want. It even happens here. Right? If I just go to the manual of this little thing, I can just look up this small part of the manual. And these are like grouped things. If I go to a different plugin, which is also what's cool about Melda, is this is not just a parameter for this M harmonizer MB, I think. If I go to where is it? Is it M tools? No, other. M transformer. And go in here. I think. Some of these, where is it? Is it M transformer? Or M auto pin? Auto pitch. There's another pitching plugin that does the... I have to go in here, Melda, pitch shift. I think it's M auto pitch. Oh, it's slightly different. There's like semitones and cents, which is not in here. I thought it was the same. I thought that because it's always made out of these like blocks, that maybe you can go into one block and that it will reference the blocks of all of the plugins that use like the same thing. But I guess this is slightly different. Move over your cursor or Control and press F1 to get detailed info about it. If the F1 key is captured by another application, try use Control F1 or Control H. F1. Control F1. Control H. Keep formats. This is insane. I never knew this. You learn so much. These plugins are, I tell you, these plugins are so much deeper than anything else that's on the market in terms of what they are able to provide. And I think the reason for that is because Melda has very smartly made the whole infrastructure of their plugins always the same, right? All of the settings, for example, are shared between, here you have global system settings. These are all the settings that are shared between different, all of the plugins that you have open, for example. So for example, my skin on every plugin is the same. If I go to my style and I go to maybe the other one, which I don't like. Let's go to something that I like. I do like me some dark. Let's go with this. This is just a different font, I think. Let's make it a bit clearer. Let's say that I like this. I think if I now go in here, yeah, it just shares these settings. So I can go back here. And now it's this one again. And now this is also again this one. Did I do that right? If I set this to big light and then go here. Okay, no. So it does have like a default then. It does not share the skin version. Oh, you have to set current style as default style. And then it should work. Have you thoughts about doing podcasts? I have done a podcast actually. Almost 1.5 years ago now, I was on the very first, or the second. I think the second episode of the podcast Early Reflections from Dash Glitch. Ever since I've just not been invited. But I would, if anybody wants to invite me, then I will be there. I love to speak with people about music and community like I'm doing here in any other way as well. So if a podcast comes on my path, then I will be able to do that. I mean, you as a host. And you having guests. I don't know if I would want to do that now. Like as in the coming months, I'm fairly busy with some other things. But then again, I'm always going to be busy. So if I'm not going to do it now, then I'm never going to do it. But it does feel like a lot of organization. That is not necessarily what I want to do. I have thought about it once, I think, because Dash stopped doing his podcast. And I found that kind of a shame. What I do think, if I wanted to do podcast, I would want to be a little bit more established in like the old school kind of psytrance community, like all of the big artists, right? Because all of those artists, they are very much connected to each other. Take somebody like Eclip. Eclip would have a much easier time beginning a podcast because he could just call up all of his friends and have them as guests on. I have a few people that I could call on that are like actually interesting for other people to listen to. Right? I mean, I could have like Dash, Psyger, Mute Productions, Ollie Music, and then a few other of the kind of YouTube sphere that I'm in. But that's nowhere as big as the Psytrance sphere in general, and there's much more interesting guests. Not to say that other people aren't interesting, and like myself aren't interesting, but if you look at an artist like the Asterix, if you want to do a podcast, Asterix would be a great guest to have on because he doesn't really do interviews, and he's a massive producer. My roommate just came back. He's a little bit noisy, a little bit loud. Is there anything else that I wanted to say about the podcast? Apart from the fact, yes, as I said, I would be interested in doing them, but not right now. In later, if I'm a little bit more established, then I can just have like a wider range of different guests. Because I don't think you guys would be interested in a podcast if I every time have another guy that just does YouTube tutorials and makes sample packs and stuff like that. If it's always the same thing, if I always have the same type of guests, then that's not as interesting as it could be. If I, for example, at one time have like a touring artist, one time I have a DJ, next time I have somebody from, I don't know, the dark side kind of corner. I have somebody who predominantly does high-tech psytrance and is, I don't know, maybe somebody who is like from the really old school, like somebody like Goa Gill or what's the other guy called? I always forget the names. You have Goa Gill and then there's the other old guy. Maybe I have his name in my reference tracks. Yeah. That he's Cindy. No. That's also Rajaram. Rajaram. Those are like very interesting people to have on, because they've been around, right? Somebody like Rajaram, who has been doing psytrance for I think more than 30, maybe even 40 years, maybe he's even like that long in the business. He's seen the scene change over those 4 decades or whatever it is that he has been in the scene. Maybe even more than that. I know that Goa Gill is really from like the 70s, early Goa, right? So that's like 50 years. That would be like a lot more interesting than just 2 YouTubers talking about YouTube things. To me, that's how I see it. I don't know about you guys, what you think about that. Obviously, both are interesting, but from like a different perspective. To be honest, I think I could just talk about YouTube on my own if I wanted to. Would be fairly boring, but still. I haven't been very productive today. Apart from making the cool way to do this. I want to do a podcast with astral projection. Yeah, those are the interesting people that you want on your podcast. And that's again not to say that the people that I have access to now to do a podcast aren't interesting, but they do become less interesting the more I have them on. And if I just do a podcast with those people, then it's going to be always the same little niche thing. And that's not what I want my podcast to be in those cases. I think I'm almost going to end it here because I do have some other things to do. I have 2 more masterclass chapters to edit, and then the masterclass is going to be finished. So that's going to come out before the end of the month. If I get all of the artwork finished, I have a video that's going to come up Sunday, which is now almost an hour long. I'm probably going to edit that down to around 40 minutes, but it's going to be, how do I say this? This video has been in the works since September. and I've been like actively working on it since September. And it's involved a lot of organizing, talking to different people, stuff like that. So it's a fun video. You guys will love it. But it was insane to make in terms of kind of investment returns. It's not recommended to make these videos, but it's something that I liked doing. That was a lot of fun. Other than that, the final thing that I want to say, we still need a sample for the challenge for Sunday. If you haven't, if you don't know, I do challenges. There's no new posts in the stream stuff, right? Stream discussion. If you have any idea for the challenge to do this Sunday, then let me know by posting in stream discussion on the Discord. We've already had a little discussion on there about what we could do as like a sample or a theme for the challenge or something like that. If I don't have anything by Sunday, then I'll just make a quick sample myself. That will be slightly boring, but okay. The challenge for yourself or for us all? It's for everybody. Everybody can participate, and the resource is like given to people beforehand, and then they get like 3 hours to do whatever they want with it. Even not making a sidetrans track. You can even just make a different track. I think Klaus once submitted a track that wasn't even like sidetrans. He might have removed it. I think he did, because the Equinox one, that is like psychedelic. So it's a contest. No, not really, because there's nothing to win. It's just like a fun challenge, right? For me, a contest, I assume that you then mean like a remix competition. It's not like that. It's just something that we do for 3 hours, and then we listen to all of the results, and then it's over. And it stays in the Discord, but it's not like you have to like release the track or something like that as you would with like a remix competition. So it's just a fun challenge that we do on Sunday afternoons. You have a CET in mind for Sunday? I don't have anything in mind. I usually start at around 5 o'clock. That's Central European time. 4:30, 5 o'clock. But what I usually do is around my lunchtime, I schedule the stream. And so if you go into your subscription box, or if you go to my channel, it will show you a message that I'm going to go live in this many minutes. And then you can also set a reminder. Usually people see it on their phone in their subscription thing. The same with like premieres, right? When you watch a YouTuber premiere, it always says beforehand when the premiere will happen, so that people can prepare for the premiere to happen. I do that with the Sunday stream, so that you know at what time the challenge will start. And then there's like 10 minutes or 15 minutes for people to kind of join in before the timer of the 3 hours actually starts and we get into production. And also it's like 3 hours. If you're in an hour late, you still have 2 hours to work on whatever track you have. And it doesn't have to be like mastered or well produced. It's just for the fun of things. Trying new ideas, trying new experiments, making cool stuff, and just having fun with each other. Let me quickly check here. Oh, these are the Max for Life devices by Ohm Agar. Random sequencer outputting notes with a drum rack. Okay. Some more stuff. There's people joining. Sounds fun. Gonna try to be there. Yeah, I'll try to post the notification as soon as possible, like a few hours ahead, so you should be able to see it in your subscription, and especially on your phone. If you're subscribed to me on your phone, then it should just shoot out a message when I'm going live, and then you should be able to join. As I said, there's like 10 minutes before we actually start the challenge for me to explain what we're doing, give you guys the sample, make sure that everybody has the sample and is ready to start, and then people can join in however they want. Hello, Justin. I'm sorry to inform you that I was just signing off here. I was answering a few more questions and making a few more public announcements. I'll definitely make a video about this concept though, the self-EQing baseline. This is really cool. But I was planning on leaving the stream for here. I'll quickly show this again, because this is very funny. I don't even think that you want all of your EQ work to do like this. Right? Thinking about it, it should just be like your lower harmonic works, and then for your higher harmonics, I don't think you want more click if it becomes higher, like more high end. You would just want to do it like this, and then drop your like 500 area. For the example, the higher octave works by showing the example, but it's not really necessary. Let's say that we want a bit more gain from that. You can actually see the semitones as well, and you can set it perfectly where you want it to be. Actually, you can also set controls like this if you want to. Oh, they also have bands. I didn't know this. If you want control over individual parameters, that's also good. Do you guys know a good resynthesis plugin for Ableton? Resynthesis. Serum does resynthesis. If you mean like granular synthesis, there's like Max for Live devices. I think I have one. Granulator? Isn't there like Granulator 2? Max Instrument. Granulator 2. But I don't understand how this works. But this is very popular. This is like a granular thing which does do resynthesis, but in obviously like granular synthesis. If you mean something like what Harmer does, then no. Because Harmer is like actually reconstructing the sound out of sine waves, right? Harmer is for like FL Studio. It's additive synthesis, but it has a resynthesis engine as well as a image synthesis engine. Like it can synthesize images. I think the vocoder is more like a resynth. No, the vocoder is a vocoder. It takes the frequency information of one sound and it kind of imprints that on the other sound, but it doesn't synthesize anything. It just does like filters, and then for each band, it just sets a certain volume. Essentially, a vocoder is just like but some vocoders work with FFT. Digitally, all vocoders work with FFT because they use the FFT for the implementation of the crossover filters. But that does not make it resynthesis yet, I think. Because it's not the kind of vocoder that we know from like DSP, right? Those are like theoretical vocoders. Because theoretical vocoders, for one, they work on each frequency independently, and practical vocoders work on areas of frequencies. They don't work on the like specific frequency individually. The theoretical vocoder that I think you mean, which does involve resynthesis, does have a bunch of properties in that they are what was it, that they work on each frequency independently. What about some of the Ableton spectral plugins with FFT spectrums, like spectral time? I don't know if that's resynthesis. I've never checked that out, actually. Spectral time. Here. I don't know, this is maybe some kind of resynthesis engine. It doesn't show me how many like bands I have, so maybe it does do like individual frequency stuff. I need to play with this. That's kind of cool. You could make a lead out of this, right? I bet you could make a fairly cool synth out of this if you modulate this randomly. The tilt random. Hey, it goes off the screen. You guys didn't see it, but the drop down goes to my third monitor if it's too much to the left. Hey, it still does that. Here as well? No. Here it remains, but if you put it right here, it went to my like third monitor. That's funny. 1 of 16. I don't know how a vocoder works, but it's not what I'm looking for. What are you looking for then? To be honest, if you want to do like actual resynthesis, then I would suggest Harmer, because it just does additive resynthesis, which is the most common definition of resynthesis. Right? Additive synthesis is the creation of a lot of sine waves, which together recreate the sound out of all of the sine waves. This is kind of cool. Let's not start with what's the best DAW discussion, please. Yes, I agree. I don't remember mentioning best DAW anywhere. He is just trying to not get into that discussion preemptively. You were the one who was asking why he's using Ableton. Anyway. Do I have some more to drink? No. I am going to actually stop here because it's 9 o'clock. I have things to edit. I have things to do. Yes, I was curious why everyone is using it. I mean, it's a good DAW. But if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I do understand that. If it doesn't work for you, like you said, then you shouldn't worry about it. Yeah, I want to delete this. I want to save this idea of the moving thing here. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream here. As I said, I have other things to do. I want to thank you guys for the donations. We had a super chat from Cider. We had a donation from MindB. And anything else I have to say? No, I don't think so. I think I said everything that I wanted to say. So thank you guys for watching. Sunday is going to be challenge. I'll try to be on at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. But the notification will go up much earlier, so you guys can get notified by YouTube whenever I go live. But yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed the stream, even though it was a bit random and we didn't really do much. We just mainly had a lot of chatting, a lot of talking. I was planning on making wavetables, as you can see from the title, but we ended up not doing that. At least we made a few, but not so many. But still, thank you guys, and see you Sunday. Bye bye.